Breaking tonight, the IRS claimed under oath that its targeting of conservatives was never politically motivated. But tonight we have learned that the woman at the heart of the scandal, well, we now know what she really thinks about Republicans. It turns out Lois Lerner was very frank in her just-produced personal emails, which we now have. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Earlier today, the House Ways and Means Committee releasing an eye-opening string of emails from Lois Lerner. Emails that lawmakers believe show her dislike of conservatives. We do not know who was on the other end of these emails because that information has been redacted. But the lengthy back and forth took place days after President Obama's re-election in 2012 and gives us new insight into Ms. Lerner's mindset. At one point, the person on the other end of the email exchange writes to Ms. Lerner saying, quote, "Well, you should hear the wacko wing of the GOP," and goes on to say it's time to hunker down, buy ammo and food, and prepare for the end. The right-wing radio shows are scary to listen to. To this, Lerner responds, great. Maybe if we are through, it's because there are many blank holes, she says. Joining me now, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, who's been out in front of the IRS investigation, a Republican and member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees, and he just took part in a hearing on the IRS today. Congressman, thank you for being here. And so she goes on to call GOP radio hosts crazies who will, quote, take us down, and refers to them as blank holes, as I pointed out. And yet, let me just, before I get you to respond, take you back to then acting IRS Commissioner Stephen Miller in 2013 and what he had to say about what was and was not at play in the IRS's targeting.
The concept of political motivation here, I did not agree with that in May. I do not agree with that now. We were not politically motivated in targeting conservative groups.
Your thoughts?
Well, it's just flat out wrong. I mean, the scorecard's 104-7. 104 conservative Tea Party groups were targeted, some of them for years, harassed, asked all kinds of crazy questions. 7 progressive groups were put on a list, but it was a different list. All of them received their C4 status. So the scorecard's 104-7, and the 7 were all approved. The 104, most of them weren't, and some of them had to wait years. And then we have the email that you referenced, Megyn, from Lois Lerner, who's in an agency that's supposed to be nonpartisan, not bipartisan, nonpartisan, and yet she calls conservatives crazies, terrorists, wackos, and obscene, obscene names.
Right.
So, yeah, every day in this investigation, we learn something new. When we depose people, we learn something that contradicts Commissioner Koskinen's testimony. When we get new emails, we learn something new. So, again, we just keep digging, and every day we find out something new that adds to the case of why we need a special prosecutor, why we need Eric Holder to agree with every single Republican in the House of Representatives, and more importantly, 26 Democrats who voted for a special prosecutor, why we need a special prosecutor.
The evidence about Lois Lerner's partisanship continues to mount. Now, we know that she was coordinating with the Department of Justice, trying to help them with respect to potential criminal charges against regular American groups that were right-leaning, based on what she thought was too much political activity. And then we also found out a couple of years ago, happens to be a month before I gave birth to my son, so just keep that in mind when you see this clip. But a man named Al Salvi, out of the state of Illinois, who had run for the Senate seat now held by Dick Durbin, who is a Democrat. So this Al Salvi did not win this race. The Democrat Dick Durbin did. He talked to me about how when he was running, Lois Lerner, was heading up the Federal Election Commission and went after him full bore on charges that were never substantiated and repeatedly thrown out. And that when she finally gave up because she couldn't make the case, she tried to extract a promise from him. Listen to what he said.
She asked me to get out of politics for the rest of my life. I asked her, Lois, would you put that in writing? And she said no.
Oh, my team edited out the very pregnant me, which was very nice. So, Congressman Jordan, let me ask you, if we now have proof positive that this woman is a partisan, that she did have ill motivations at heart, whether they in fact motivated her behavior, we can only surmise, but wouldn't it be nice to have somebody look into it?
Well, yeah, and exactly. And the evidence keeps pointing in that direction. What we do know, Megyn, and you referenced this, is that Lois Lerner was working with the Justice Department clear back in 2010 and gave them 21 discs of information about C4 organizations, 1.1 million pages of information about C4 organizations. Some of that, a small bit of that, had confidential donor information, but the IRS gave that to the Justice Department. The FBI had that file for 4 years. And then you get the testimony that you got from Mr. Salvi. It all points to this was, and it may be, and this is why we're looking into it, some coordinated effort to go after people for, again, exercising your most fundamental right, your right to speak out in a political fashion, in a political nature, against your government, and that was targeted by this administration.
You know what's really crazy about the Al Salvi case? So she goes after him, she loses, she tries to extract a promise that he never run for office again, this Republican. Then Dick Durbin goes on to win the Senate seat. Then Dick Durbin turns around in the wake of Citizens United and starts saying, we need to crack down on these conservative groups. And Lois Lerner over at the IRS was only too happy to respond. Congressman, I got to go. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.